Welcome back to Fantasy Football in 5. This will be our Week 2 strategy video. Our last video was our Week 1 strategy video.
So if you haven't seen that, hit the big red button below. Okay, so last week was Week 1, and if you had any of the elite guys on your team, you were really disappointed.
Yeah, absolutely no one scored. Any of the running backs, AP, wide receivers, Des Bryant, any of the others, nobody scored.
But for this week, the quarterbacks we like for stardoms be like Joe Flacco, Eli Manning, and Carson Palmer.
Now, when you look at those quarterbacks, Eli Manning, they play the New Orleans Saints, and as you saw in Week 1, the Raiders, who threw the ball all over them, it was pretty pitiful. And last time they played, they scored 52 points against them,
yes.
So I think it's going to be another shootout.
And it's even a better incentive for you to start Manning because the Saints' top corner, Delvin Breaux, is hurt for 6 weeks now. So, you have bench warmers.
And then for a few sit-ems, you have Jimmy Garoppolo, Matt Ryan, and Kirk Cousins. All right, starting off here, we're going to start with a few stardoms at running back. We have T.J. Yeldon, DeMarco Murray, and Rashad Jennings. Now, well, who do we go with? Rashad Jennings. Rashad Jennings, because you're probably wondering, well, you guys have said that he's not very good. Well, I watched the game against the Cowboys, and whenever he got the ball, especially at the end of the game, he always seemed to get at least 10 yards. And that is something that you want at the running back spot.
Exactly. And so basically any Giants offensive player you want to start against the Saints this week. For sit-ems, we want you to sit the Lions running backs, even though they had both good weeks last season. Just their matchup last week, yeah, isn't in their favor this week. We also want you to sit Devonta Freeman and Eddie Lacy. Moving right along, we're going to go with the wide receiver stardom, guys. We want you to start Kelvin Benjamin, Jarvis Landry, and Jeremy Maclin.
Now, Jeremy Maclin, he's going up against Houston. Now, you might think, oh, Houston's defense is pretty good. That may be so along the defensive line, but their secondary is not. They have their top corner, Jonathan Joseph, which really is getting old, and I expect Jeremy Maclin to have a really good game against them.
The sit-em guys include Willie Snead, T.Y. Hilton, and Sammy Watkins. Now,
I said to sit Willie Snead. He does not agree with me, but I think that Willie Snead is not going to perform like he did last week. Who expects Willie Snead to get 32 points? I don't. They play a much better team this week on the defensive side of the ball in the New York Giants, who really shut down the Dallas Cowboys offense, especially in the second half. So I do not expect Willie Snead, their third receiver, to get that much work. Alright, so a few stardoms as tight end. We have Julius Thomas, Dwayne Allen, Kyle Rudolph, and Gary Barnidge.
Now, I love Julius Thomas. The couple of past seasons, we really haven't liked him, just because he was still getting used to Jacksonville's system, but he's now since exploded the past couple of games, dating back to last year. He had a great week against Packers last week, and I expect him to have even a better week against the lackluster defense in the San Diego Chargers.
And then a few sit-ems, we have Jordan Reed, the Packers tight ends, multiple of them, and Jordan Cameron.
Okay, so for the defenses, we want you to start these squads in Green Bay, Minnesota in their head-to-head matchup, Dallas, and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm going to take this one just because Green Bay and Minnesota, the past couple of times they've played, it's been a defensive showdown. And I think it's going to be even more of that this time if you look at what Minnesota was able to do Week 1 and the fact that Minnesota doesn't have a lot on the offensive side of the ball.
For the sit-ems for defenses, we want you to sit Cincinnati, the Los Angeles Rams, and the Houston Texans.
Alright, at the kicker's position, the most important position in football, that's my opinion, but anyways, so at that position we want Dan Bailey, my favorite player in the league, Josh Brown, and Chris Boswell to start there.
Now, we've talked about Josh Brown for an eternity, so let's move on to a different kicker, Dan Bailey for the Dallas Cowboys. He had, I think, 3 field goals, all pretty lengthy field goals last week in their loss to the Giants. I expect him to have the same amount of success from here on out. Their offense is going to start clicking with Prescott and Elliott and Des Bryant once he gets back to form. I think he's going to score a lot of fantasy points.
And at the sit-em spot, we have Chandler Catanzaro, Phil Dawson, and Sebastian Janikowski. Alright, for this little part, we wanted to do a couple people to pick up and a few people to drop. So, a few people to pick up would be Jesse James, Corey Coleman, or not Corey Coleman, excuse me, Tevin Coleman. I can't read. Anyways, Julius Thomas and Spencer Ware. Some of those guys, like Spencer Ware, may not be available But if you can pick them up, obviously do that because they are going to be great possible starts for this week and a few others.
Just a little note about Jesse James. He is going to be the starter until Ladarius Green returns. If Ladarius Green returns, he's huge. Ben loves him.
And a few people drop. We have Keenan Allen. If you didn't hear about him, he tore his ACL. Get him off all your teams. I had him on mine. I am about ready to cry. Anyways, and then we have Tavon Austin and
the Rams defense.
The Rams defense, because if you didn't see what happened to the Rams, they were garbage like always, but even more so. So drop everyone.
Yeah. Alright, that was Fantasy Football in 5, and thank you for watching. We deliver our fantasy news in 5 minutes, because honestly, who would want to watch a 30-minute video on this topic?
Amen.
This is our week 2 strategy, and started to sit and pick up and drop these guys, so stay tuned for more.
And also, our fantasy team lost this week, disappointing, but it was a tough week. Minnesota scores a lot of points.